Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into Brené Brown's incredible book, Daring Greatly. And let me tell you, it tackles one of our biggest fears head-on. It asks a pretty radical question. What if that thing we're all trying to hide, our vulnerability, isn't a weakness at all? What if it's actually our greatest strength?
Now, this is not your typical self-help book. Oh no. This is all backed by years of research, and it completely flips our whole idea of vulnerability on its head. See, Brené Brown argues that we've been taught our whole lives that being vulnerable is a weakness, right? But what her research shows is that it's actually the truest path to courage and, real genuine connection.
So let's talk about that title, Daring Greatly. It's so powerful, right? But here's a fun fact. Brené Brown didn't actually come up with it. She found the perfect words to capture her work in a speech from, get this, over 100 years ago, by none other than President Theodore Roosevelt. And when Brené Brown stumbled upon this quote, it was like a light bulb went off. She immediately thought, wow, that is the perfect definition of vulnerability. See, Roosevelt's man in the arena isn't really about winning or losing. It's all about the raw, gritty courage it takes to just show up, to get in there knowing you have absolutely no control over the outcome.
And that arena he's talking about, well, it can be anywhere. It could be a first date, right? Or maybe it's launching that business you've been dreaming about. It could even be something as simple as having a tough conversation or just raising your hand in a meeting. The point is, anytime we step into uncertainty, well, we're in the arena. We are daring greatly.
Okay, so if being in the arena is what we should be aiming for, why is it so darn terrifying? I mean, really, why do so many of us spend our time on the sidelines, criticizing and judging, instead of just jumping in? Well, Brené Brown says it's because of the culture we're all swimming in.
She has a name for it, our culture of scarcity. It's that constant nagging feeling that we're just not quite enough. You can probably fill in that blank for yourself pretty easily, can't you? It's like this low-level hum of not good enough playing in the background of our lives all the time.
And that scarcity mindset, it makes the arena feel impossibly dangerous. Think about it. If deep down you believe you're not enough, then failing isn't just failing. It feels like a confirmation of your absolute worst fears about yourself. Suddenly, the stakes feel sky high.
So what's the solution? How do we push back against all this pressure? Well, Brown's answer is pretty radical. She basically says we have to completely demolish our old definition of vulnerability and rebuild it from scratch. We have to stop seeing it as a flaw and start seeing it for what it is, the very essence of being human. And here's her definition, based on all her research. Now look closely at what it doesn't say. There's no mention of weakness, right? Or fragility, or, oversharing on the internet. It's just a neutral state of being. And here's the kicker. She argues it's not optional. We all face uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure every single day. This is the huge mental shift. The real question isn't if we're going to feel vulnerable, because we are. It's how we're going to respond when it happens. Our courage is literally measured by how willing we are to lean into that feeling. So what does that actually look like in real life? I mean, look at this list. Do any of these things look like weakness to you? Saying I love you first with no idea if you'll hear it back? Owning up to a mistake you made? No way. These are moments of incredible, profound courage. This is what vulnerability in action really is. Okay, so the biggest myth we've got to bust is this idea that vulnerability equals weakness. And Brown's research found something absolutely fascinating, a huge paradox. It turns out we apply this myth to ourselves, but almost never to other people. We have this massive double standard. Seriously, think about it for a sec. When you see a friend being really open about something they're struggling with, or maybe an athlete getting emotional after a huge game, or a leader who stands up and says, you know what, I don't have all the answers. What's the first word that pops into your head? Okay, now let's flip the script. How does it feel when you imagine sharing your own struggles, your own fears? What's that feeling that kind of washes over you? I'm guessing it's not the same one, is it? And that is the paradox, right there. We look at other people being vulnerable and we see courage. We admire it. But when we think about doing it ourselves, we see it as a failing, as inadequacy. Isn't that wild? We love seeing that raw, honest truth in other people, but we are absolutely terrified to let them see it in us. So, what's the takeaway here? The whole point, the real work, is bridging that gap. The challenge of daring greatly is learning to value our own vulnerability just as much as we admire it in everyone else. It's all about finding the courage to just show up and let ourselves be seen. And look, daring greatly isn't some one-time heroic thing. It's a practice. It's something you do over and over. And it's not even about winning or losing when you're in the arena. It's about the incredible change that happens inside you just from having the guts to step in, time and time again.
And this is why it all matters so much. Because when we put on all this armor to protect ourselves from feeling vulnerable, yeah, we might block out some of the bad stuff, but we also block out all the good stuff. We block out everything we're actually craving: love, belonging, joy, creativity, all the things that actually give our lives meaning.
So ultimately, what Brené Brown is challenging us to do is to reframe our entire approach to risk. And she does it with this one simple, but incredibly powerful question. It totally shifts the focus away from a fear of failure and onto the pursuit of what truly matters. So I'll leave you with this. What's in your arena? What's something that's worth doing for you, even if you fail?